Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Nerdsplain It, your favorite comic book podcast, a comic book podcast for every level of nerd, where we discuss in a way that is easy to digest for newcomers and presents new discussions for the veterans. As always, you can reach out to us via the Nerdsplain It helpline at 805-669-7230. Today's episode that we're going to jump into is an episode on Captain America. This episode was requested by one of our listeners. He's been listening since the first episode. Real quick, we're going to play the message that he left us.
Howdy, nerds. This is Luke from kind of south of Dallas. Hey, I am a huge fan of your podcast. Just discovered it recently. I was trying to geek out on the Infinity Wars and found some good discussions. So I really appreciate that. I've been listening to all your other stuff too, and the Punisher one was great. So hey, can you do the same thing for Captain America? Because that's my guy. That's my little girl, her favorite superhero. If you can go through a history of him, that would be so cool. I'm enjoying the heck out of this. So keep it up. Appreciate all of the hard work and all the fun y'all are having. It's cool. So it gets me through the workday. All right. Have a good one. Bye.
And we want to thank Luke for dropping us that line, requesting the episode. Definitely a huge thank you for listening to us and keeping up with us on the episodes that we do. So, at your request, Luke, we're going to dive into Captain America and hopefully enjoy the episode we're going to do. So, let's hit. Where do we want to start?
1941, I believe it was March. I think, Jerry, off the top of your head, who do you think, who are the two people that created Captain America?
I know you want me to say Stan Lee and Jack Kirby.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people would. A lot of people would assume it was Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby did. It was actually Jack Kirby and Joe Simon. So it wasn't, a lot of people are going to go, oh, I think it was, it was Stan Lee. It actually wasn't. It's one of the few iconic Marvel ones that Stan Lee didn't create. It was Jack Kirby, Joe Simon in 1941, and it started with that Captain America Comics #1, which you've seen. If you've gone to like a Hobby Lobby or any of those hobby stores that has sort of the comic book or nerd wall decor, you've probably seen the cover Captain America Comics #1. It's the one where he's punching Hitler. He's punching Hitler right in the face. It's amazing.
Well, it sounds like it'd be a big hit right off the shelf.
Yeah. Well, in 1941, it's World War II.
I see what I did there.
But 1941, what's going on? It's World War II, and by this time, Superman's been out for a couple years, and Superman, kind of embodied his American ideals. Captain America did the same, and they both became massive propaganda mascots. Basically, you saw war bond advertisements everywhere with Captain America on them or Superman on them. There are collectors of those. People go to great lengths to find the old war bonded propaganda posters that have Superman on them or Captain America. I thought it would be interesting.
So, one of the things I really like to identify when we start talking about these characters is the inspiration for the character. Would we say propaganda was essentially the inspiration for
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a general nationalist or patriotic spirit. We'll say it was a patriotic spirit. If you don't like the word nationalist, we'll say it's a nationalist spirit. If you don't have a problem with the word nationalist, because we live in touchy times, let's cover our bases, not alienate everybody. This is a safe nerd place.
Can we just say it stemmed from it's okay to punch Nazis in the face thing?
Let's make that very clear. Cap has no problem punching Nazis.
Yeah, punch a Nazi in the 40s was okay.
I would say yes, Jess. It came from a very patriotic, a very patriotic inspiration.
Okay.
I mean, the name's Captain America.
Right.
Because I think it was going to be like Patriot Man or something like that, and then they kind of looked at it like, we got too many men.
His name is almost that cheesy, but it's still...
Is there an origin story for his name? Or was it just kind of
propaganda
made up in
because in the comics the title of he was given the rank of captain, but I don't know, did he really fit into the military hierarchy as a captain? And what branch was he actually in? Was it just in the Army?
United States Army.
Oh,
he
okay.
was the Special Science Reserve. That was one of those things that, like, the 2011 Captain America: The First Avenger got very, very right. That sort of origin story was pretty well dead on the money, even down to Richard Armitage's Heinz, I think it was Kruger, Heinz Kruger, who killed Dr. Erskine right after the procedure. So Captain America, for those of you who don't know or need a refresher, is Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers is this scrawny-ass kid from Brooklyn whose mother died of pneumonia and whose father died, I think, 2 years earlier than the mother, who, when World War II comes around, he really feels like it's his patriotic duty to fight. And he really wants to, but he is a scrawny, asthmatic mess of a kid. And they won't take it. I mean, I need a veteran or someone familiar with that process to clear on this, but I believe he was marked a 4F, which is there's no fucking way you're getting in. But he just
I'll just ask Sifford next time I see him.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah. But he just kept applying, and he would do it under different names, which was so illegal. And just like you saw in the movie, Dr. Erskine, Abraham Erskine sees him and says, you're a good guy. He doesn't believe he doesn't want to kill anybody. He just sees what's going on, what the Nazis are doing, and says this isn't.
He just wants to stop them.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I loved about that. That's one of the reasons I love The First Avenger, is because those moments in the beginning of the are so well written, well done, and really kind of stir that. To me, it appeals to sort of the best in all of us. That ideal of the kind of people we can be. And that's all he. That's all he really was. He enlisted. So he wasn't going to be enlisted as an officer. It was after the procedure and after providing a morale boost and punching Hitler that he was given that the term Captain America became the rank of captain, because then years later you literally hear him referred to as Captain Steve Rogers. So the military eventually recognized him as captain.
Okay, that makes sense.
Would you say his ideals were similar to that of Superman in regards
Absolutely.
to like that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Interesting. Actually, that's interesting that you mentioned that. We'll get to that a little bit later as we talk about the timeline.
All right.
Talk about Captain.
Word.
What else do people want to know?
Did Superman ever punch Hitler?
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah, Hitler's jaw exploded into.
Superman was actually like punching he actually just punched the whole Third Reich is what it was.
Okay.
He punched the idea of the Third Reich and rode missiles down on Japan.
What abilities? Like, can we really define the abilities of Captain America?
Absolutely.
Because he could have just been called Mr. Perfect too, really, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
And here's why. Perfect is Batman. Batman is the peak of human ability.
That's a very high bar.
The super soldier serum and the super soldier procedure that Steve Rogers underwent, which was a complicated procedure and serum that included the use of Vita rays in a Vita ray chamber, pushed Steve Rogers to beyond the peak of human ability. He is faster than any human is capable of being at their peak. He is stronger than any human is capable of being at their peak. He's more agile. His senses are more attuned. He's not, he doesn't have daredevil hearing or anything like that, but he's got better senses in every possible way than a human could possibly have, which is why I say you put him in a fist fight with Batman, he's kicking Batman's ass. Batman is peak human condition. Cap is beyond that. Cap is also an extraordinary hand-to-hand combatant. He actually knows the same amount of earth martial arts as Batman. The other interesting thing about that whole super soldier procedure, it's only worked perfectly once, and that was on Steve
I was going to
Rogers.
ask that too. I was going to ask, was there more soldiers that worked on besides him?
Yes, they tried.
Okay.
Erskine didn't. He wrote down the procedure, but he left out one piece of information so it couldn't be replicated just in case. That information was the Vita rays, which is the entire chamber he's in, but whatever. And Vita rays is literally like vitamin rays. That's such a 1940s, oh yeah, go down to the corner soda shop and get yourself a seltzer and some Vita Rays.
And some cocaine for that cough you got.
Don't forget the laudanum. But it's such a 40s thing. But and then Erskine was killed by Heinz Kruger, and the full procedure was lost, and they tried it many times. The Incredible Hulk, that's an attempt at the Super Soldier Serum. It's a bad attempt at the Super Soldier Serum. Many times.
For Captain America: First Avenger, they insinuated that Red Skull was a early Erskine test of that. I think they actually did that in like the 1990 one, is the 1990 Captain America movie as well. I think they kind of alluded to that. I didn't know if that was accurate from the comics, that Red Skull was almost like, because he's got super abilities. He is really strong, can kick some ass and whatnot, but his head turned into a jelly bean. Is that correct that he was also a test subject for that?
This is where I sort of failed on my research. I did a lot of just I did a lot of the Captain America research, a lot of the Captain America and the Ultimate Captain Americas. I didn't do a whole lot necessarily under the on the villains. Now, from what I know, in the movie, they implied that Erskine and an imperfect formula created the Red Skull. I believe in the comics, Skull was actually the Skull was a mask, from what I remember. And eventually he was more of a mad scientist than he was a physical match for Cap, but he eventually became one.
Oh! You mentioned Hulk is Bruce Banner aware that's what he was doing?
Yes, I believe he knew he was working on that. And there's been other ones. It's always they're always one step off. It's always the body.
To circle back to Jess's question, because one I've always had, and I know they've done it in a couple of different ways. Cap and his shield. Is it like, because I mean the way I remember from a lot of the comics and a lot of the cartoons was, no, Cap was just so good with his shield, knowing how to throw it and ricochet it off of things, that's how he could always catch it. And like, I think it was in Civil War, or was it in Civil War was in Winter Soldier, where they actually added the magnetic thing on his wrist so it would always pull it back. But did that just go in hand in hand with his martial arts skills and stuff?
So Cap was just that good with it. I didn't think that the magnetic thing was necessarily a cop-out. I think it was more of, instead of it saved him time from having to get it from his hand onto his arm, and he could just, boom, now it's on my arm,
more efficient.
I'm ready to go.
Gotcha.
However, Batman wouldn't need two moves to put the shield back on his
Jesus.
arm. He could just do it in one, so, whatever.
To prove. And then, if you look at the reason I like to talk about Cap is because he's one of my favorite Marvel characters. Not my absolute favorite, but he's pretty high up there. And I think a lot of that comes on the strength of the last 10, 15, 20 years of writing, especially when Ed Brubaker took over. I've always really liked this character, and he reminds me a lot of Superman in a lot of ways. They both sort of have that American idealism. Which I'm not a big patriot. Patriots. Anybody that knows me knows I don't go in for patriotism because I have no control over where I was born. And but insofar as Superman is a creature from another world, so he's very much an outsider, trying to find his way on a planet that's not his. Captain America is a man out of time. He is a person that is trying to find his way in a world that should be baffling. And it's interesting because, going into a little bit of history, we get Cap. Within a couple years, we get, very soon after, we get James Buchanan Barnes, Bucky, which is his sidekick, who in the comics is a teenager.
Okay.
And they go on a number of missions throughout World War II. And it's interesting because Brubaker, and I love this, when you wrote the Winter Soldier series, And actually Winter Soldier, not Captain America Winter Soldier, but we wrote the Winter Soldier. He revealed that Bucky was the Dark One. They used Bucky to carry out the bloody crap that they couldn't have Cap be seen doing. So Bucky was sniping people. Bucky was slitting throats. This
was Cap aware?
Huh?
Was he aware? Was
Yes.
Captain America aware?
Yeah.
Oh.
Captain America. What's up, Jerry?
Was Bucky and Steve Rogers friends back in the day, or is that just something the movies do?
Friends. Well, see, and that's another. He met Bucky, but I don't know that. I think he might have just been sort of assigned Bucky more than anything. He wasn't necessarily. Yeah, I prefer kind of the way they did in the movies, with Bucky being a longtime friend, and I also really I like the way that Sebastian Stan portrays. I always like that a lot better.
Well, was it that they were longtime friends? Or did the movies more or less more like since he was from a different time period, he was someone that was familiar from his time period, which made their bond that much stronger in the films?
So, okay, in the comics, Bucky isn't even from New York. He's from Shelbyville, Indiana.
Okay.
And he's just an army brat, so he's grown up around it. So he just kind of becomes his sidekick. You didn't get a lot of these deep stories of these origins until way later. It was, hey, all of a sudden, Cap has a sidekick. I don't even think in Robin's first appearance in Detective Comics, did they actually go into Robin's origin then? Or was he just there and then they went into the origin later? Because that was pretty common that you didn't get the origin off of that.
Are you doing Dick Grayson?
Dick Grayson, yeah.
I
thought they did the origin of Robin later.
But it wasn't later.
No,
I mean, we're talking a few issues later. I think we got like, he was a. I think they said he was for a family of acrobats. That was,
and that was pretty common back then. Is here's introducing his funky sidekick.
Right.
So yeah, Bucky. Like I say, I much prefer the way they did movies. Greg, I'm sorry, I forgot the entirety of your question.
Oh no, I was just wondering their relationship, like in the films, were they that close, or were they only that close because Cap pretty much lost everyone from his time period, but then Bucky shows up and it's like, oh, there's someone from my time period.
No.
There's
he met Bucky in World War II. That's his time period.
Right,
Cap-
but in current time,
mm-hmm.
like he lost, like when he woke up or came to or whatever,
So you're
wasn't there
asking,
like
because there was a
familiarity?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
excellent.
Okay, so here's how this sort of went down with Bucky. He gets Bucky. They go on a lot of missions. We find out years later Bucky was the Dark One, which I freaking love. And eventually Bucky gets initially just injured, and Steve temporarily takes on a new partner, which was Golden Girl, Betsy Ross, no relation that I could find to General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross or his daughter. And then on a mission while fighting Baron Zemo, who was in Captain America Civil War, sort of, they are both on a rocket, I think it is, that detonates over the ocean, and Bucky loses an arm and is presumed killed, and Cap falls into the Atlantic Ocean and is presumed dead. And then that's it for Cap in the 40s. Then you start with Captain America in the 50s, and for the run of the 50s, different people are Captain America. Then in the 60s, Steve Rogers comes back. The Submariner Namor is kind of like Aquaman of the Marvel Universe in a way. He's actually the first mutant. He finds Cap encased in ice in the ocean and brings him out of the water and sets him with an Inuit tribe who actually worships him as an ice god until he's thawed out and I think recovered by Tony Stark in Avengers number 2 or something like that, or number 4. Early Avengers from the 1960s. And then from then on you have Cap, but Bucky is still dead.
Okay.
And so eventually he starts taking on different partners over the course of the 60s and 70s and 80s because we didn't get Bucky until 2000s. He didn't pop up. Yeah. So then, when Rogers is unfrozen, he has Rick Jones, who is every time I hear Rick Jones, I think of Zach and Miri.
Oh, see, we went Rick James on this.
I can have a porn name.
Jones. Rick Jones is just kind of a scrappy kid. Nothing all that special about him, but Avengers fans love him. And then eventually Falcon, who was the first. Falcon was the first mainstream black superhero. Not the first one to get his own comic. The first mainstream one. And then it's
when did he what period?
60s.
Okay.
1960s.
For Falcon?
Yeah, for Falcon. Yep.
Now, when you mentioned that there were other audience can't see me use quotations, but quotations Captain America's. Mm-hmm. Is this under the same idea of them being under the same serum as Steve Rogers, or was Steve Rogers the only one that had the extra abilities, but everyone else had the title of Captain?
Yes,
pulling those shoes.
Yes and no.
Right?
Yes and no. So originally, in the 50s, you had three. You had William Naslund, who was originally known as the Spirit of 76, and he was a hero from World War II. He was another patriotic hero in Marvel Comics, or Timely Comics at the time. And then you had Jeffrey Mace, who was originally known as the Patriot, and he debuted Marvel Human Torch #4, which was a different Human Torch than you see in the Fantastic Four. It's Marvel's first superhero movie. Okay. Then after that, you have one of my favorite replacements, which is William Burnside. William Burnside was just fascinated by Steve Rogers to the point that he had himself surgically altered to look like Steve Rogers and legally changed his name.
Wasn't there someone in real life that did that for Superman?
Yes, Filipino.
Yes, it was. Yeah, that did actually happen, and I'm actually in the process of doing that to become Dave.
It's going well.
It's going well. I don't have any hair on the top of my head. I'm going to have it transplanted from my face. But the thing is, I don't know how I get this swooshed back moose coif that Dave has.
Well, first of all, you're going to have to get the size right, so start stapling hams to yourself.
That wasn't very nice to yourself, Dave. Self-love, baby.
And then, the William Burnside is from that I'm talking about is from the 50s. He also gave himself and his replacement Bucky, who was Jack Monroe, a flawed super soldier serum. And the flaw in it made them be paranoid that people were commies or communists. Because this is the 50s. This was the Red Scare. This was McCarthyism and McCarthy blacklisting. This is when Arthur Miller wrote The Crucible. This was a New Salem witch trial. So William Burnside became paranoid and delusional that all these people around him were communists. And it got so bad that the government mandated that Burnside and his Bucky, Jack Monroe, be cryogenically frozen for an indeterminate amount of time. To this day, that I know of, Burnside has not been unfrozen. He's still cryogenically frozen in Marvel continuity.
Wow. And
then, Monroe, he did come back. He came back in like the 90s because they cured him. So, and that's kind of Cap that's Cap in the 50s. So that's those ones in between Steve Rogers, and then you get some eventually in the 70s that are so you get some in the 70s. There are times between the 60s and now where Steve Rogers is a Captain America. Like in the 60s and 70s. Well, actually in the 70s. The Watergate scandal with Richard Nixon happened, and that actually rattled Steve Rogers so badly that he hung up the shield. And he retired the shield. He put on this weird outfit with a cape and started calling himself the Nomad, which was, representative of him feeling like a man without a country.
Wow.
Yeah, and then he kind of has this realization that Captain America is about the ideals of the country and the American dream, and it's not about the government itself. So he feels like that moniker represents the ideals of America, not the American government, because now the American government has become so distanced from what it means to be America itself, because he sees this corruption.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then then eventually, I guess, and maybe this is just how the VA works. In the 70s and 80s, Rogers eventually starts getting back pay for his service from when he was frozen.
Millions of dollars. Actually, do they adjust for inflation on that, or? Because I would assume.
I think it was mostly paid in wheat pennies and buffalo nickels, or maybe old railroad bonds. I think it was barter gas.
No, he was paid in Captain America war bonds.
Right.
That's like getting paid in your own Monopoly money.
Right. It's like in Bison from the Street Fighter movie being paid in his Bison dollars. Rogers, yeah, he starts getting back pay from the government, but there's like a condition to it where they kind of say that he has to answer to the U.S. government. They're like, hey, we're paying you all this money for your service, for your years of service when you were frozen. Least you could do is sort of, say how high when you say jump. And Cap goes, fuck that. And he drops the America part and just calls himself the captain. And the U.S., in response, finds this guy named John Walker. They make him Captain America, but then eventually it doesn't work out for him. Steve Rogers comes back, and John Walker becomes known as U.S. Agent, which, if you've ever played Marvel vs. Capcom, you saw Captain America comics in the 90s, the U.S. Agent, it looks like Captain America, but the stripes on his outfit go horizontally across his chest, and his costume's black.
Oh, this is what you were talking to me about when we were watching.
Yeah. I said a lot of things. Winter Soldier. And then eventually you get into, and this is where I don't necessarily read the comics. I'm not a huge, I'm not a huge fan of comics in the 80s or 90s. And one of the reasons is, in the 80s, Steve Rogers' body starts to break down. And so he gets an exosuit because it was the fucking 80s, and of course it was.
Everyone had to have a suit.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone had to have an exosuit. And then eventually that leads into that whole...
Was this pre or post RoboCop?
I think it was pre, because RoboCop was like 80.
Oh, that was like 89, 88, 89, something like that.
Common knowledge, or am I just not...
The exosuit?
Yeah, what's an exosuit?
An exosuit is basically he had a robotic suit of armor. Had a big metal plate across the nose, stuff like that. Remember Batman's suit in Dawn of Justice?
Yeah.
That's an exosuit.
That one kind of made sense. You're playing Superman.
Yeah, this was because his body was deteriorating, so it needed to sort of step him up a bit.
Okay.
Oh, but it's okay, because eventually Heroes Reborn happened, and Cap was drawn with a shelf of a chest because of Rob Liefeld. Like, literally, the Heroes Reborn story was so weird. Most of the heroes are gone. Then when they come back, they've already redesigned. Iron Man's is kind of cool, but Captain America has the comic, and it's infamous. He's got this tiny little head, and his chest comes out like 2.5 feet from his spine. It is so like he could literally lay a plate. No, I mean he's got a bigger chest than Power Girl from DC Comics.
Yeah, they're
Jess, you're the artist. The proportions on that, and his chest is rotated.
Okay, so this picture will be posted on our Instagram.
Yes, we should absolutely.
How to not Captain America.
Greg, I'm going to show this to you, but the perspective is even off. Like, it's just...
Oh, wow.
That was almost a George Takei. Oh, my.
Oh, my.
Thanks, Liefeld.
I hit my teeth with my Monster can. This is how my day is. I started by putting cumin on my toast instead of cinnamon, and now I've thrown a Monster can into my teeth.
I gotta tell the story. We're all downstairs in the kitchen making food, and Dave gets his toast.
I put my strawberry cream cheese on there.
Yeah, oh, he was so happy, he was ready. And then he's walking past me, and he goes, "Why do I smell cumin?" And so I open the pantry like I'm expecting to see a cumin fire. I was like, oh, this is a concern. And then Jess says, well, it's on the counter.
Did you put that on your toast?
and I turn around and I look and I go, God damn it, I put cumin on my toast. And I decided, all right, I'm going to try it. So I take a bite of white bread toast with strawberry cream cheese and cumin. Now, if you've ever cooked with cumin, you know a little bit of cumin goes a very long way. It's a very powerful spice, and it's actually very good. Small doses go a long way. I put the amount that you would put as if you were dusting toast with cinnamon onto this toast. So I take a bite and I go, that's not bad. 3, 2, 1. There it is. This is awful. Oh, God. And I had to make myself a whole new plate of toast. That was my morning.
We still love you, Dave.
I think, you know.
Oh, real quick question.
Now, you got a question?
Yeah, real quick. Okay, so I don't even know if there's an answer to this, but because Captain America was, I guess, injected with this serum, does that sort of make him U.S. property at that point? Because, like, going back when you're saying that they were paying him, like...
This is an eminent domain question on someone's blood type?
No, I just mean, like, you know, we own you because you wouldn't be who you are without the help of our
I think
technology.
Okay, let me ask you this. If you're on an antidepressant, does that make you the property of Pfizer?
Well, I'm not doing work for Pfizer, though.
I think that goes back to what Dave was just talking about, where the military was like, hey, we're going to give you all this back pay, and we're actually going to pay you for what you've been doing now. Now you're going to, you know, chip in a little bit more, now that you're being compensated.
I mean, because more or less he was a weapon, right?
What's up?
I mean, more or less he was a weapon.
Okay,
I mean,
let me put this in a horrible context that's going to piss a lot of people off.
Oh, here we go.
When we use persons of color as soldiers in the Civil War or in the Revolution or in any other war, what are soldiers but weapons? Did that make them property of the U.S. government? I'm pretty sure we have an amendment that says people can't be property, so I'm going to go ahead and say no. Steve should not be considered property of this one. But I think now, you know, with what we talked about, we're up to the 21st century.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good time to take a pause for the cause.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys have just found us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify, wherever you're listening to us, you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you have any questions based on any of the topics you've heard us discuss, or, you know, have suggestions yourself that you want us to discuss, you can hit us up there on social media or call our Nerdsplain It helpline at 805-669-7230.
We are back, and I think now it's time to find out why am I talking like this, Ron? Now it's time to find out what's going on.
Jerry, how's your kid?
She's good.
Thanks for that, Jerry.
Tune in next week for another exciting edition of Jerry's Kid.
Yeah, so Dave, me and you both really like movies and background information and the behind-the-scenes stuff. So what type of trivia have you come across throughout the years of movies being made about Cap and all that?
Well, one of the first sort of interesting things that I found was, do you know when Captain America was first put to film?
I want to say it was 80s?
1944.
I was way off.
So the character debuted in 41, and within 3 years had his own series of serial movies, like the Batman serials in the 40s. And they started a guy named Dick Purcell, who I couldn't find any information on. And it was interesting because Captain America wasn't a soldier named Steve Rogers. He was a district attorney named Grant Gardner. And then we didn't see anything really out of Cap until about 1966. There was a cartoon that ran about 13 episodes, and Cap was voiced by Sandy Becker. But then, yes, if you jump ahead, in 1979, there was a pair of TV movies, which now you can get on Blu-ray and DVD as individual movies or as a package. These are so bad. They're called Captain America and Captain America Death Too Soon. Both of them starred a guy named Red Brown as Captain America, and they were so bad. You may have seen pictures of them. It's the one where the helmet is a motorcycle helmet, a big, bulky motorcycle.
And like the shield is the red and clear and flimsy plastic.
Yeah, it fits on the front of his motorcycle, yeah. And it's my favorite thing that I found about Captain America Death Too Soon. Christopher fucking Lee was in it. Christopher Lee, Saruman, Count Dooku, Dracula, this iconic actor was in this shitball of a film.
Who was he in the film?
The villain, I don't remember.
Okay. So not Cap.
No, oh my god, that would have been awesome. That's very interesting that you're here, Red Skull. Perhaps we cannot settle this without knowledge of throwing the sheep, but our knowledge of the Force. But yeah, they were hard. And in this one, Steve Rogers wasn't a soldier. He was a commercial artist whose father's lab was broken into because these Nazis were looking for his father's secrets. And he was injured by these spies, and he was given the flag formula, which stands for something. I don't know what, though. And that made him Captain America. And then he was given a motorcycle full of gadgets. Apparently, Captain America needed gadgets. Now, I can only assume that the reason they did the gadgets on a motorcycle is because 1979, you're talking about sort of the height and the beginning of the downfall of the Roger Moore era of James Bond films, which were very campy and very gadget heavy. Like, kind of my least favorite of all the James Bond films. Do you have anything? Are you familiar with any of those, Jerry? Have you seen those?
James Bond or these?
No, these terrible 1970s.
No, I've not.
But please tell me you saw the 1990 Captain.
Yeah, at work. It got put on the rotation a few times.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Have you found any interesting info about behind the scenes stuff on that?
Oh, not on that one. What I'm more like focusing on is budget of stuff and box office.
Oh, okay,
scores and
okay.
stuff.
David, I know that the 1990 Captain America had a bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes. I mean, and honestly, I like that Captain America movie. I guess some people would say it's a quote-unquote guilty pleasure. I mean, I understand. It is a dumpster fire, is what it is. But it's really bad. I mean, Red Skull in that movie is Italian.
Yeah.
And he's only got the red skull for the first, 4 minutes of the movie, and later on, he's just an old, scarred-up Italian man.
Yeah, he's just a general Italian fascist.
Yeah, that's really about it. And
Those starred Matt Salinger, who I think was actually related to J.D. Salinger.
he's his son.
Oh, okay, J.D. Salinger was the writer of Catcher in the Rye, and his son, Matt, played Captain America in 1990, a movie that was... So, if you look at... I love looking at IMDb ratings for series. The Captain America ones from 79 float around the 4s or 5s. The 1991 sits at 3.3 right now.
Good
That's how
God.
bad it is. That's how bad it is. As bad as these 79 ones were, the 1990 was a freaking... Oh, God. Garbage Fire is a good description, but...
Did the 1990 bring in any money, or did that go straight?
Hardly ever. It was more or less no money in the
Was it a
box
straight?
office.
Did it go straight to VHS, or did it have a theatrical release?
It might have had a small theatrical release because it does have a box office money
It's
but
some
not
money.
to brag about it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Didn't Good Bad Flicks on YouTube they did a feature on that?
They might have.
Yeah, it was either Exploring Captain America or it was Good Bad Flicks Captain America. I really like that channel. Good Bad Flicks guy, you're doing a great job. Keep it up, love it. Are there any things about the people that were in this? So, okay, this 1990 Captain America was really bad. One of the reasons is no comic book movie around this time was very good. They made a Fantastic Four film that was directed by Roger Corman that is laughably terrible, but still better than the Jessica Alba ones. They had this Captain America. The suit was all rubber, and originally the helmet, which it was like the one you see in the comics. It wasn't the actual helmet as much as it was like a cowl. They cut out holes for Matt Salinger's ears to come out of.
I've been looking at this entire time, what you're talking about right now. And
Look at the ears. They cut out holes.
I know.
Salinger
I've been looking
put
hard
his
at
ears
this.
through it, but it hurt. So they covered those ear holes with rubber ears and painted them flesh
That's
color.
why they did that.
Yeah, he doesn't have cauliflower.
Because I'm like, what is wrong with his ears? They look nasty.
Captain America
Wow.
1990. The people that were in this. There are two people in particular that I find really, really interesting. One of them is Ned Beatty, who movie fans will recognize Ned Beatty, even though the name that might not ring a bell. Ned Beatty was in Deliverance, and he also played Otis, which was Lex Luthor's henchman in Superman in 1978. Otis Thorne. Yes, Big P. And then the other person that I thought was great was Ronnie Cox. Ronnie Cox he's a pretty popular actor in the 1980s. Greg, have you ever seen RoboCop?
Yes.
Okay, so RoboCop. You remember Dick Jones, the guy who like ran OCP and was the main bad guy?
Correct.
That's Ronnie Cox. He was in this Captain America.
Oh, okay.
He was also in Beverly Hills Cop. He played Lieutenant Bogomil. He played Lieutenant Bogomil in the first two Beverly Hills Cop movies, the ones that Rosewood and Taggart answer to.
If I'm not mistaken, he's the president in that. He's the president in that Captain America.
Yeah.
His name is James Buchanan.
Yeah.
So he's supposed to be a delusion Bucky. Yeah.
And what's interesting though, this movie's terrible. I cannot state enough how bad this movie is. But Ronnie Cox went on record and said that script was the finest script he'd ever read, and he does not understand how they screwed it up so badly.
Wow.
No, the script could not have been that good. Or he read terrible scripts. Like, dude, you were in RoboCop. RoboCop was awesome. You were in the two good Beverly Hills Cop movies. Those were good scripts. How the hell was this Captain America script good and turned out like this? Oh my god. And then after that movie bombed. It was terrible. So we didn't get Cap until the MCU started in 2011, or until the first Avenger, Captain America: The First Avenger in 2011. Which I think Jerry's got some facts about.
Yeah, Jerry, you said you've studied the box office draws for a lot of stuff in their budget. Like, I'm assuming that all the Captain Americas have been financial successes, correct?
Depends on what you consider successful. So, it really does. So, of the 20 films released so far from Marvel Cinematic Universe, including Ant-Man now. So, Ant-Man's going to throw this off because their box office run isn't done yet. But the first Captain America movie is ranked 18th of the 20 movies, according to the box office.
Oh, okay. So I'm sure it's steadily just moved down the ladder as the universe.
Absolutely. But so Iron Man 3 is universally more or less hated as a Marvel Cinematic Movie universe.
Right.
That made more money than Captain America.
Than Civil War?
Than Civil War.
Wow.
Iron Man 3.
Yep.
Made more money than Civil War.
Yes.
It could have been advertisement, though.
That's astounding.
They advertised the shit out of Civil War.
But it could have been better looking, though.
Yeah, I think like
his
at least
more to look at it.
Like, had a bunch of Iron Man suits and him fighting like superhero bad guys. Civil War is an old school spy thriller.
Civil War.
Not Civil. Oh, sorry. I'm thinking of Winter Soldier. So wait, Civil War.
Civil War.
Like
first Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's back.
Black Panther is introduced. Giant Ant-Man becomes Giant Man. Like, how the hell does that perform under Iron Man 3? That's crazy.
Of the 20 movies, Captain America only has one top 10, and that is Civil War. Winter Soldier is ranked 13th of the 20 movies.
Wow. But that's talking about the box office draw.
Box office draw.
That's so weird. How does it compare to the Thor movies? I gotta know. Because, I mean, the Thor movies, I think, pretty much everyone agrees. The Thor franchise has been the weakest of the MCU.
Until Ragnarok, yeah.
Ragnarok made more money than Winter Soldier. Ragnarok comes in on 11th out of 20, and that's the highest Thor. So, But to put this in perspective, so I'm a Star Wars guy. Solo tanked in the box office. Solo made more money than First Avenger, the first Cap movie.
Wow, and that's so crazy because to me, I think First Avenger was great.
I do too. I love First Avenger. It's done by Joe Johnson. I love the director. He has a lot of ties to Star Wars, so he's always a good.
Yeah, I think you were telling me earlier he started out under work for George Lucas, right?
Yeah.
What did he do for George Lucas?
Art direction. He worked with the miniatures and art direction on the first 3 films. He wrote the script for 2 of the episodes of the Droids cartoons.
Oh God! Yeah, don't put that on a poor guy's resume.
Yeah, he was production designer for the Ewoks Battle of Endor and the Caravan of Courage.
Oh Jesus! No, this is not a good. No, can we get a good resume on this guy?
Joe Johnson also directed the Jumanji movie with Robin Williams.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's a big plus. That takes out a lot of minuses.
That is a big plus.
Also, Jurassic Park 3.
Down.
Hold on.
Yes.
Page Master.
That's a middle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, he's done good work.
So he's had some ups and downs.
He's had ups and downs. Every director's going to have it.
He's got some real high peaks and some real low valleys, though.
Yeah.
Joe Johnson also did the first Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Really?
Yeah.
So I guess you have to give him the plus on that one.
I think like watching the first Captain America movie, or it didn't do much for me. Like it was a good film, but I really enjoyed the second one more so. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe after seeing the second one, I thought the first one was not. I don't want to say garbage because it wasn't garbage, but in retrospect, between the two, like the second one was so much better than the first one. The first one was on par for me as Sky Captain in the World Tomorrow. Like it wasn't a bad movie, but it was like okay. Like it wasn't blown away. Like it wasn't.
But Greg, Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow was a bad movie.
No, it wasn't. Yes,
It's what I mean.
It was so bad. It was right down there with the spirit.
Never saw.
So should I retract that comment?
I don't know. I think that the Captain America movies are indicative that box office success isn't always reflective of the quality of the movie. I think the Captain America trilogy, the Captain America franchise have been the best movies of the Marvel franchise. I think it's the Captain America franchise has been the strongest out of Iron Man and out of Thor, out of any of those. And like so, First Avenger. We'll go into that one. Part of what I liked about it, that was back when they did very subtle winks and nods and Easter eggs. I guess they're going through the Stark Expo in the beginning. There's a guy in a glass case in a red suit. That's Jim Hammond, the original Human Torch from Marvel Comics #1. That was a great reference. That was a great subtle thing. They did that sort of constantly throughout. Now they can't stop winking at the camera. But I love the performances in First Avenger. I think the casting was off the charts. Natalie Dormer is in it, looking all sexy and blonde. Haley Atwell, I think, did a really good job. Which, like everybody in this room, heard Haley Atwell went.
Let me ask you guys this, because you guys are very familiar with the comics. It was stated a little bit ago that Iron Man, the very first Iron Man, was like the starter to the whole Avengers, this whole 10-year thing, right? Is it just I didn't get that vibe from watching the first Captain America movie, the second like I didn't get this is their whole plan the whole time, or what? Or do you feel the same way, or do you feel like, oh, now it's just appropriate to say that because it makes sense?
It wasn't necessarily. I mean, I think they started with Iron Man. They kept going with that, and they figured, okay, we're gaining some traction. We can start putting other characters out there, and they had a lot of money behind them, and they had a lot of good people writing and directing and producing them, and they cared about these characters. So they were those early ones, Captain America: First Avenger. It was called the First Avenger to allude to let people know, like, hey, we're getting an Avengers movie down the line.
I don't even think that. Here's the thing. Captain America was the last one before the Avengers. We knew Avengers was coming. The name First Avenger refers to the fact that, chronologically, Cap would have been the first Avenger. He started in the 1940s.
Right. So it would have been...
Yeah.
Okay.
Because literally, so the mid and post-credit scenes for the first Captain America, mid-credits is he wakes up and it's 2012. So now he's the man out of time.
Right.
Post-credits is Nick Fury coming to him while he's working out, which is a scene taken directly out of the Avengers, and he's beating the punching bag, and you have the first trailer for Avengers after that. So that was literally the last movie that happened before 2012's Marvel The Avengers. So it shouldn't feel like it was kicking something off, because it wasn't.
Okay.
It was continuing that universe and giving people that character before, so that they didn't just do a rushed introduction
like Justice League kind of did.
So wind your mental clock back about 7 years.
Okay.
They announced Chris Evans is going to be Captain America. For me, I hadn't seen The Losers. I had only seen Chris Evans in the Fantastic Four films. I was really unsure about that casting decision.
Well, he was also in Perfect Score, which has Black Widow. It would make you question the choice of.
So, did anybody feel confident about that? Thinking back,
I saw him, so yes.
She said she Google's image search Chris Evans. There was a topless photo,
And I was
and he
in.
was
I was
in.
sold.
See, and I wasn't sure how they were going to pull off the difference in size, making
They
him
did
so
a great
small.
job.
Yeah, making him look all scrawny, I think they did a really good job. And what's funny is when he comes out of the procedure, and he's got just the pants on and no shirt, and he's just ripped as shit. There's a moment where Haley Atwell's character, Agent Carter, reaches over and touches his chest. That wasn't in the script. Her attraction to his form took over, and she just reached out and touched Chris Evans' bare chest.
I do the same.
And Joe Johnston went, "No, I'm keeping that." Like, that was an out of character moment. She just went, "Hug me life." And then after that, we got to Avengers, but then we move on to Civil War, which is my favorite of the entire list.
Not Civil War, Winter Soldier.
Okay, I was about to
Winter
say,
Soldier is
you
your
rate
favorite.
Civil War above Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Dave. Okay, so I know earlier you mentioned that Captain America was like the strongest human, whatever kind of.
Beyond, yeah, his strength and everything is beyond
Not,
human.
no, that's obviously without any kind of extra like suits or anything like that, right? So
Yeah.
the Black Panther, because they kind of went toe to toe a little bit in Civil War, was it?
Yeah.
Would he kind of be the next guy after him, even though he had to use the suit? But like, well, I guess.
Once upon a time, Marvel ranked these things in detail, whether it was in trading cards, stuff like that,
Okay.
and you'd be able to reference that and tell. Now, I think there is a ranking system that's kept online by Marvel, but I'm not absolutely positive. As far as I know, they're about the same. I think the biggest difference is that I believe Black Panther is more intelligent
Okay.
than Captain America, which is why Black Panther was on the Illuminati, and Steve Rogers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But that's a good question. I mean, and I'm sure there's tons of debates online as to who wins in the fight, because it's the internet.
Batman does.
In a fight, there you go. In a fight between Black Panther and Captain America, Batman wins. But yeah, Winter Soldier, God, everything seems so formulaic in the Marvel universe going into Winter Soldier. Actually, going into Phase 2 in general, and then we get Winter Soldier, which is this awesome espionage thriller. It's like 3 days of the Condor, including it has Robert Redford in it. And I was just watching it the other day, and I told Jess, I hate Robert Redford.
Do you think they played it safe just because of what people would have expected from the film versus what?
I don't think they played it safe at all. I think doing an espionage thriller for Captain America is risky.
Oh, okay.
I think that 3 days of the I think the way they did it was great. As I told Jess the other day, Robert Redford makes me so mad in that movie. He's such a good actor, but he makes it seem so effortless. He's just so natural. And they brought in the Winter Soldier, who I love. The Winter Soldier, if you're not familiar, if you haven't seen the movie or the comics, it's Bucky. Turns out he was found by the Soviets, and shortly after they crashed, they reprogrammed him Manchurian Candidate style into a super assassin, and they would cryogenically freeze him every so often, which is how he stayed so young. But he was also given a corrupted version of the super soldier serum, and maybe the Infinity Formula that keeps Nick Fury so young, because Nick Fury actually fought in World War II.
Did not know that.
But he's still alive and looks the same.
So did Black Widow, apparently. Apparently she's like a year and a half older than Steve Rogers.
And she's
somehow.
getting her own movie now.
I've never gotten into that. You did research on like current Cap stuff, right?
Yeah, the Hail Hydra caps.
All right, and
What the hell was that?
Yeah, so recently in the story arc Secret Empire, we find out that Steve Rogers was a Hydra agent from the beginning. Or was he? Or was he not? Like a lot of big Marvel story events, they get so convoluted and they start one way and you're like, oh man, this is going to change everything. Then they unchange it because I guess they're afraid of permanent change in their universe. So when they first announced that Steve Rogers was going to be a Hydra agent, I was like, oh.
And I agree. I think that when Marvel announces an event and they say this is going to change everything, I think that's their intention, but they're very gun shy. They cannot pull the trigger on it and make big permanent changes. And I think Secret Empire is one of those because the Secret Empire number 0, which was a free comic book day thing, where you got that panel of Cap doing the, Hail Hydra, which unleashed a slew of mutants. But then ultimately, didn't it turn out not to be Cap? It ended up being some corrupted version of Cap made by the living embodiment of the Cosmic Cube or some overtly complicated graphic.
Yeah, very similar to that. What happens is Hydra gets a shard of the cube and uses that to implant memories into Steve Rogers or something along those lines. It's, again, really convoluted. But ultimately what ends up happening is this new Steve Rogers takes the name of Hydra Supreme. And he tries to take over the world for Hydra like Hydra always does. And then finally, every like Marvel character teams up against him, and again gets super convoluted and lost in their point. But what happens is Ant-Man ends up going into the Cosmic Cube to find the real Steve Rogers to bring him out of the Cosmic Cube. And so now there's Hydra Supreme running around in Captain America, and it's just...
What was the image you sent me yesterday of like, was it the Hydra Supreme in an armor thing going to pick up Mjolnir? He couldn't do it, and then Steve shows up and says, "Here, let me," and he picks up and then just beats the man about the face with Mjolnir.
So we get the answer of Steve Rogers can pick up the hammer because he's very angry at Hydra Supreme, and just, I'm not sure why the hammer's just chilling on the ground. I'm sure there's a backstory for Thor. I don't think Thor.
Well, I think in the words of Lonely Island, Thor had the hammer. He threw it on the ground.
And so, Cap just picks it up and just more or less backhands Hydra Supreme with the hammer. And that's all they wrote. They arrest Hydra Supreme and everything's back to normal. And there's no big life-changing differences in the Marvel comic universe.
I'm pretty sure that's not the first time Cap's lifted that hammer either. Because, they teased it in Avengers Age of Ultron.
Which was beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that moment where you see Thor's eye. When Thor just goes, whoosh, he wiggled it. I love that moment.
In the past, though, he's been enchanted, or the hammer's been enchanted, or magic's been in play. I want to say this is one of the few times that he literally is able to just lift it up. Until they released a comic in a year that backtracks and said he is enchanted. And they can't make up their mind.
See, and the thing with that Secret Empire, that Cosmic Cube thing, it's one of the reasons I don't like the Cosmic Cube. It's such a Deus Ex Machina. Like in the movie Winter Soldier, Steve kind of physically realigns Bucky's memories. Kind of beats him in the seeing, remembering. But and Hydra, the current Hydra, is brainwashing isn't that good because they don't have the book. That makes sense. In the comics, the way that Bucky gets his memories restored is literally Steve Rogers is holding the Cosmic Cube and just says, "Remember, Deus Ex Cubica."
Kind of like Mufasa in the clouds in Lion King.
But and they use that a lot. Because in Secret Empire, Hydra uses the promise of the cube to get people on their side. Frank Castle, who's always been a good guy in my opinion, gets recruited by Hydra because they go, "Hey, you kill some people for us, we're bringing back your family." And he goes, "All right, let's go punish." And he rocks a uniform that has the skull with the Hydra tentacles coming out of it. It's really cool. But yeah, it's a fix-all for everything.
It's, we screwed up our universe. Cosmic Cube, JK.
I think that really covers some of the current Cap stuff. What they've been, when
you got a character that's 60 years old, like that's 70 years old, it's hard to cover it all.
Now, obviously, we've got the Nerdsplain It helpline. That's where the request for this episode came from. If there's anything else that, Captain America related that you want us to touch on, we didn't necessarily get to talk about Bucky as Captain America or what Falcon did as Captain America, stuff like that.
Or anything.
Yeah.
All right.
Comic that you want.
Yeah, anything you want to know.
And Luke, if we left anything out that you want to know more about, dude, give us another ring. Thanks so much for that call and that message. You picked out a character that I happen to really love. I can talk about all day. But if there's certain things we didn't cover that you want to know about, by all means, let us know. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you got.
So that helpline number 805-669-7230. I want to give a thanks to all of our listeners out there following us on the social medias. giving us the comments and the support on Twitter and on iTunes, everything. We're on Spotify now. I think it happened about 2 weeks ago, so you can find us there if you prefer to listen on that program. And I definitely want to take a moment to give a special shout out to Dave and Jerry for a lot of the research they did on today's episode. Wouldn't have been anywhere without either one of these two guys. I know some about Captain America. I know his suit is blue, and I've seen the movies.
False, it's aqua.
Except when it's not.
Except for where it's not. So I appreciate the hell out of both of these guys. We wouldn't be Nerdsplain It without these two. We wouldn't be able to present the information that you guys are enjoying listening to so much. Love hearing from Greg. Love seeing Greg on the computer screen. So I'm not sure exactly what our next episode is going to be, but definitely keep those coming. Hopefully we're going to do some DC stuff here before too long.
Yeah, I know that, for DC fans, it probably seems like we're a little biased one way or the other, but here's the thing. We try so hard to give you guys information that is relevant to whatever's coming out, and the fact of the matter is, for the past several years, Marvel has 3 films that come out every single year, and they are huge box office draws. DC's film slate isn't quite the same. So as much we will try as hard as we can to balance it by throwing in some DC, but we are very well aware of how Marvel leaning.
In the next DC film, like November.
Yeah, it's like Aquaman.
And I cannot wait to talk about Aquaman.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited to do some
I love
Aquaman.
Aquaman. Personally, for reading list, I would say check out Captain America: Man Out of Time. I believe it was written by Mark Waid. Excellent story. That the central focus is on a 95-year-old man in the body of a 20-year-old man who has not seen the world around him change. How he adjusts to that. I mean, you listen to the music that they would have listened to in the 40s, and he gets awakened in 2012, and all of a sudden he's hearing 2 Chainz. I don't think that's going to go well. Just imagine the things you see every single day that you take for granted. A computer in the 40s took up an entire building.
My reading suggestion would be Secret Empire. Take notes during it. It's very convoluted. It's like 12 issues long. You could get in trade now. But it's good. You get to see Cap fight Cap. So, yeah, that's fun.
I think I'm going to check that out this week.
I have a copy of it. You can borrow it.
I think I've never actually sat down and read Winter Soldier.
Ooh.
So I know Dave's got it right there. So I think here over the next week or so, I'm going to try and power through Winter Soldier.
There you go.
Oh,
Are you
thanks.
talking about Captain America: Winter Soldier? Because this is just Winter Soldier. That's all about.
No, Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Okay, well, that's going to be that big one.
Right. So, Jess, what are you going to be trying to read over the next week or so? I mean, I know Jess starting a new job this week, so that's going to be really exciting for her. But I'm sure she's going to downtime with.
Oh, listeners, a little update. Yeah, so there's no longer 2 hosts down here in southern United States. There's only one. And a special kudos to our nearly 6,000 listeners.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, ultimately, what you like in comics, the characters, that is yours. Own it, love it, and don't put Cuban on your toast.
Later, nerds.
See ya.
Out.
Later.